everybody, and welcome back to KF&JF podcast. We're so happy today for you guys to join us. We are definitely been moving pretty well over the last week or so. We have a guest on our show today that I'm so happy that she's taken the time to come on and tell us a little bit about what she's doing out there. And we're just so happy. We can't wait to get to hear all of the things that she does, as well as her experience out there and dealing in small business. But first, I'm going to pass it over to Razak to introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Razak. I am the CEO and founder of United Minority Business Ventures. My purpose is to assist with the creative process and maintenance of your business by forming opportunities to communicate and collaborate with your followers and subscribers or other business owners. We use a wide range of networking tools and methods to achieve results. We assist in the ideas associated with social media marketing, building your marketing profile, creating your marketing strategy, or building your financial profile for your business. We also assist with branding your product or merchandise. We may also determine what licenses are needed to operate your business, or if you plan on owning a domain or buying into pre existing sites that host your page. We also like to assist by managing your website by selecting posts that create subscriptions, comments, and likes, or by generating comments on other individuals' business sites or page that create a dialogue of conversation directed towards your page. We also like to help navigate through thousands of companies asking you for money when there's free companies out there. It's just a matter of starting from the ground level or having pre existing funds to buy into something flashier. I'd like to tell you that it's a pleasure to have you on on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate the work you're doing out there. Again, Razak, for helping a lot of small businesses get themselves together, as well as establishing themselves in the business with some of those things that you're talking about as far as building their website and helping them navigate a lot of the things that needs to be done when you're establishing a small business. As well, here at KF&JF Podcast, we're really looking forward to one of the things that's important to us is to have you go to thejoybeloved.com and purchase anything there that you see that would help us here at the podcast. The money that you spend on Joy Be Loved helps us support the podcast. And as I said before, we've been doing so much in the neighborhood and in the community, and we want to make sure we can bring to the table our new guest today. So please introduce yourself.
Okay. Yes, my name is Karyn Johnson Dorsey, and I am the CEO of Karyn's Express Delivery Service Incorporated. I started this company pre-pandemic because I thought there was a need for specialized service that would help customers or clients in my area that couldn't afford the higher price services like Instacart or Shipt. I found out personally by using those services how much the markups are for those businesses, and I thought there's got to be a better way. There should be a company that can help the person who may not be able to get out, who may not have time to get out, or who may not want to get out and go to the store and do shopping and do other errands. So I took it upon myself to find out all I could about how those businesses worked, and I created Karyn's Express Delivery Service Inc. The difference between me and the larger companies is that I'm the personal shopper. I know my customers. I know if they're allergic to shellfish. I know if they're diabetic. I know if they wanted a special item that was on sale and they were looking for it, and I look out. Those are the types of things that a personal shopper can do that a random shopper using Instacart cannot do. Also, using my service, you will get your receipt, which means that you'll know exactly what you're being charged. I was astonished to find out that when you use the Instacart as your shopping service, they charge anywhere from 20 to 30% on markup on all products, which is why you never get your original receipt from them. And times are hard. People need their money, and I felt that was just way too much money being pocketed by them. I know they have a business to run, but we also have families that have bills to pay. So with me, you pay in-store prices. If you are a reward customer for Vaughn's or Ralph's or whoever, you get those rewards. You'll get your receipt, and you will always, always have a guarantee of my service. If you don't like it, you don't pay for my service.
You'll get the
Well,
groceries though,
well,
right?
well,
I didn't know how much
well.
I needed to say without a break or a pause.
No, that's great. You did great there. I'm just surprised that you're offering such a um, powerful refund. If they don't like your services, you're out of whatever they spent. So that's a guarantee that most people are not able to put out there, and so you must be really sure about what you're doing and how you're going to provide the services that you need to provide. So I think that that's powerful. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that you have been through that motivated you to get into this? What was some of the real things you've learned so far that's helped keeping you in this business?
Yes, as I alluded to earlier, I started using a shopping service myself because I was injured in an accident. And from 2014 to 2018, I was basically housebound. I couldn't drive, and I relied on someone doing the routine shopping for me. And I felt that if I was one person, I wasn't elderly. I was still in my late 40s, early 50s. So there had to be other people like me, my neighbors, people in my community who needed that type of service. So when I found out that there was a niche in this area that I could do it, and I started by in, I don't want to use the word infiltrating, but I started by mimicking what Instacart did and other companies did. And from there on, I wanted to do something that they couldn't do. I wanted to be the same person that that person contacts all the time. I wanted to get to know that family, get to know what they wanted, and get to know what they needed. And so, therefore, my customers are like friends, they're extended family, and I feel that I give them a benefit by it's just like saying, "Hey, can you go to the store and grab me some red bell pepper?" It's not going onto an app and asking a business to do it for you. It's like asking a friend to get it for you. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did good. That's one of those things that when you're working with family and people that are close to you in this type of business. I'm just going to ask this now, but I would have probably waited to ask it. But well, let me wait to ask that. Do you think that there are things about you people don't know? So can you tell us something unique about yourself that most people don't know?
Well, let's see here. Um, I'm not sure if it's unique about me. I had to learn how to use my body again to in order to do routine things. I alluded to the accident I had. I was a right-handed person. Now I'm a left-handed person. So you have to try and things like that. You realize that people take things for granted and assume that you'll always have your health, that you'll always have your strength, and sometimes things happen and you don't have that. So I found that I was able to pick myself up, not cry and be depressed over the fact that certain things I couldn't do anymore, and let's see what I can do. And because of that, I have so much patience for people who are elderly, who are disabled, who are single mothers, who are parents who are juggling 5 different jobs, just trying to get from point A to point B. So I take all that into consideration when I take on a client. And it's not the money's not what motivates me. It's getting the customer what they need.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. That is one of those things that we love to hear in small businesses, that people are motivated by something other than just money.
Yeah.
They're motivated by the purpose of what they're doing. So, and that's something that I can't tell you that I'm proud to hear and hear you say. Razak?
Yes. Let me ask you. Okay, so you were in an accident, and you needed help yourself, and
Hmm.
then so this kind of it's like it says, how did your earlier life experiences shape your aspirations and career choices? So you explained that you were in an accident, and that's kind of like, you see how people were getting bamboozled in a sense,
Hmm.
by other companies. But is there? Let me ask you: is there more to it, to just shopping? I mean, is there to the career path, to that it's specific career choice?
Sure. I was a paralegal by trade. I did that for 25 years. And I had actually retired from doing that. No more traveling to Orange County or LA anymore, fighting the freeway or getting on Metrolink. It was just something that I had had enough of. But prior to that, one thing I always liked or thought of was the way I was raised. My parents are from the South, and it was always, if someone needed something, my mother used to say, teaspoon can be divided. So when I saw the need for the service because of what I was going through, I got into it as just helping people. I wasn't even charging people. I was just, they needed something from the store or whatever, I would go get it. But I think it was just the way I was raised. Um, when I was able to get out and be around, get out and do things for myself, I thought, well, let me share that with other people. So that's how it started. And from the paralegal side of it, I saw a lot of things that saw a lot of greed, saw a lot of ways that clients may not have been served well, and so I thought, I don't ever want someone to be unsatisfied or felt like they were shafted. So I put myself in everyone else. I try and put myself in that person's shoes all the time. So whenever I do something, I always think about, if I was in that person's shoes, what can I do to help them out? So,
Right, right. Yeah, those are some key examples. I see the negative uh, experience that you have, that shaped your career path. But what would be some of the influential people who might have also guided that way? What I mean, that maybe cheered you on, or became, or matter of fact, let me ask you this, because this is something I'm thinking of right now. What would be the first rewarding time that you helped somebody else, and you said, I know this is what I want to do?
there is a couple who live not too far from me, and for different types of health reasons, he couldn't drive anymore. He couldn't, basically, his vision was bad. And she could still drive, but she didn't like to drive on the freeway. So a friend of mine asked me if I would basically take them to their appointments and things like that. And it was something I wasn't planning on doing. I was doing more of a shopping type thing. So I started to, I would pick them up and I would take them to their appointments and things like that. And it allowed them to not be stuck in the house. It allowed them to get out and do things as a older couple, but a couple again. I mean, they can go to lunch. I would take them to a restaurant. I would drop them off. They would go and have their early meal or whatever, and I'd come back and I'd pick them up. So it allowed them to still, live. unfortunately, the gentleman passed away late last year. But those 2 years that I was driving them around and helping them out with little things, I see his wife from time to time, obviously still, but I do think I brought a little bit of spark back into their life again. So that's one I can think of off the top of my head.
Great. That's great. Man, when you just said that, I had something else I was going to ask, but when you just said that right now, is there, so would there be, how should I say, an emotional connection to this too as you do it? I mean, because you obviously had some good upbringing, I guess, to care like that, and we're going to touch on that next. But what type of emotional drain or stress or does it impact you or?
It does, because I consider everyone who use my service as not just a client or a customer, but I like to get to know them. And, birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, things like that. Those things, those little, it could be something as simple as just leaving a card. I always leave a handwritten thank you card with every delivery. Doesn't matter if they're someone I see every other day or every other week. I still leave a handwritten thank you card, because how I was raised, you thank people. And I still have cards that my mother used to send me, birthday cards and things like that. She's not here anymore, but I can go back and look at those things. So it's the simple things. I know we're in a world now where people text and social media and things like that, but sometimes just putting something in writing and letting a person know that, yes, you're paying me for my service, but I appreciate the fact that you are my customer or my client. And I thank them for that. The emotion uh, I have, I try and treat everyone like I wish to be treated, but most importantly, I think that they feel the same way. We talk, afterwards. I get little gifts from them, Christmas, birthdays, holidays. They give me little gifts. I give them little gifts. So it's more of a rewarding. I think it's a back and forth relationship. So they get something out of it, and I get something out of it.
Right, right. So though, yeah, that sounds rewarding
Beautiful.
right there. That sounds very, you're being appreciated. You're being thought of too, as in the same way, by giving out these those gestures of appreciation. So let me okay, now let me go back to this to say, okay, well, could you share a particular moment that you consider a turning point in your life? Now this is stemming back to you. You said it was the way that you was raised a couple of times, so we know there was something good going on there back then for you. So what would be a particular moment that you consider that turning point of of when you're thinking back and saying, like, hey, I was always treated well, or you was, where you're grabbing your being courteous and being giving. Where do you grab that memory from, or can you share one with us?
It would have to be the way how my mother was with everyone that came into our house. We were always the house that if someone needed a meal, there was always going to be food. We were always a house where if someone needed to sleep, there was always going to be room. It was a small house, but it never felt small. So I think that's what I look at. Sharing, being able to open up just your heart to someone, to listen to them and to empathize with them. I got that from her. My father was there, of course, but I got a lot of that from her. So I think I look back at those times. There was four of us, four girls, no brothers, and I was the youngest. But at the same time, my older sisters, they did the same thing. I came down to Los Angeles from Northern California, where I was raised, to go to UCLA, and it was I was welcomed into their family, to their friends, and things like that. And so it just evolved from there. So I really think it has to do with how our mother raised us, our our parents, how our parents raised us. I shouldn't just say our mother, but she was the she was our North Star.
North Star.
Ain't they always
Okay.
are? They always are. No taking
Yeah,
from that.
everyone called her
Yeah,
mama.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
heard that. Yeah, that's how it go. You know, when everybody see like that, your friends is probably more at your house than you're over there. You know, because they consider the 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 hospitality and the mentorship and better coming from your mother and how she was raising you guys.
That's true.
So
And I
with
can,
that,
I
so
would,
we touched on some of the good things. Okay, what were the setbacks in hindsight played a crucial role in your personal development? What were the challenges or something that you had in also? So we assume with all that goodness that their mother there was bound to be a bad time. So would it be a crucial role in your
yeah,
personal development that it played?
yes. I had alluded to the accent, but prior to that, I had suffered an immeasurable loss. My older sister, the one I mentioned that I came down here to go to UCLA, she passed away in 2009 from pancreatic cancer. And that was just like, she was diagnosed in October and gone by July. We didn't even have an opportunity, like, wow, what's going on? And shortly thereafter, my mother passed away. And I believe she died from a broken heart. Um, 8 months later, she was gone. Then, unfortunately, my oldest sister passed away um, January 2012. And all three of those ladies, they were all born in January and they were all obviously very important to me. So now I'm going to get emotional. I hope I wasn't going to cry, but here it comes. Anyway, I would light candles on their birthday, like most people probably do, to celebrate, their life. And I was at a store with my son and buying more candles. And he said, Mom, January's a hard month for you, isn't it? I said, it certainly is. 5 days later, he was dead. And that was January 2014. And 4 people in 5 years was a lot to overcome. Um, and then the accident and that whole teaching myself how to be able to use a body part that I never was using before, my left side, because the right side was just not really working. Um, that was something very difficult to overcome. I have been married to my husband, Richards, for it'll be 41 years in September. And I believe that his strength, his unwavering support of me, probably was the reason why I'm probably still here today. He's the yin to my yang. We're opposites. Uh, I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert, believe it or not, and he's a little bit more out there than I am. But we needed each other, and through it all, he was my support. So that was probably the hard thing, and I felt that if anyone's going to be depressed or realizing that life isn't fair, I wanted to be the first person in line, but I wasn't going to let that keep weighing me down, because in the back of my mind, I could hear my son saying, come on, Mom, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. So it was between him and my husband, and of course my beautiful daughter, who I love dearly. They're the reason why I'm doing what I do.
All right.
Well,
Sorry
I'm
for your
just gonna
loss.
say that's a powerful thing to have to go through. It's one of those things that wouldn't wish on anybody in their families. Loss is one of those things that you can never really get over. And when you're talking about that, and Razak knows too. I lost my wife, and I was married to her for 32 years, and when you talked about finding out about cancer, and within 3 months they're gone, and it's just a whiplash of info. How did it get like that? And I haven't had a chance to grieve. It's been about maybe 3 years or so. So I know that that is something that is constantly with you, and to
Mhm.
have that much loss in such a short amount of time, it's only one person or one um, thing that helps us with that, and that's God, right? Is that's the to believe and have for Him to give us strength, because we're here, we're
Right.
still here. So if we're still here, then that means He's got something for us to do, and the best thing for us to do is to take it and run with it, and try to do the best we can in honor of them, right?
Right.
So when you look at this podcast and you see that says "Joy Be Love" on the bottom, my wife's name was Joy. She told me to be who I was supposed to be, and that she loved me. So we still try to carry those things on, and I appreciate you so much for sharing that with us and letting us know that you're a strong Black woman, and you didn't get it. You got it from your family. Your family is very strong. Your parents are very strong, and so with your dad still here, or it's just so much, and I really appreciate you mentioning that, Razak.
Thank you.
Yes, it's doing this podcast is kind of crazy to me sometimes. Well, not crazy, but it's just it's a unique podcast,
Hmm.
and I don't really watch a whole bunch of other different podcasts. I don't try to do anything like that. But I noticed I was writing down when you were saying that. I was like, this platform has somehow been a platform for people to have a release
Right.
of their grief during the process of enduring life after someone that was close to you passes. And I think I don't think I've ever heard of anybody else who allows that type of I guess support, that type of platform, that type of understanding,
Hmm.
what I mean? And I'm just I'm grateful for a lot of things that are going on with the podcast. And you have just, secured it once again, where, what I mean, I like to call it as peeling off layers of a person's identity. So we, without even knowing, what I mean, it was just a question, but sometimes certain things that you ask and certain conversations that you have just allows for all those shields and all those how should I say, masks that we may wear during the day, and they just wipe away, and you're able to talk about it. I don't know, maybe if you talk about this a lot, or maybe you don't, what I mean, but I'm glad you was able to find the trust in us and the belief in us to give it to us, what I mean, because really it's pressure, what I mean, when people build up and let it sit on themselves, and then they say there's nobody to talk to, there's nowhere to go with this, that it seems like the podcast has been a helpful place of safety for that. And I'd like to thank you also for sharing with us that. Okay, so now let me ask you. Okay,
Okay.
well, with all that, okay, how do you balance your work life with your professional interests and passions?
Well, that is something I'm still trying to come to grips with, because I feel that I'm so thankful that I'm able to be up and be out and do things, because for those 4 years I wasn't. So if someone is needing me or calls me last minute, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to do it. So that's still a work in progress, so to speak. But I'm always going to take time for my family, for special events, birthdays, holidays, uh, things at school, because that's what they'll remember. I remember when my mother was at events or my dad was at events or things like that. So if my grandson or granddaughter have an event at school or a birthday or something, I'm going to be there because they're going to see me in a picture later on when I'm no longer around. They're going to say, "Oh, see, grandma was there, so she was there." So it's rewarding. And I hadn't touched on the fact that I am a grandmother. I have two grandkids, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I call them my babies. As far as it was a lot easier balancing professional and personal when I was doing paralegal work, because everything was hourly. You were billing people. It was a different type of situation. But this is I'm working around other people, so I I I'm aware of that. So I'm more flexible with that.
Okay.
So, and interviews. So tell me a little bit about, do you have God in your life? Do you go to church? Do you have those kind of connections, or how that has played in everything that you're doing right now?
Well, for the longest, I believe I was an atheist. I think it was my brain not being able to understand how we're all from this two people. It didn't make sense to me. The science part of it didn't make sense to me. And then life happens, and there were certain events that happened after my family, as I mentioned, had passed, where I think that I felt them, and for me to open up my way of thinking to think, well, if I'm feeling them and I know they're gone, then I have to believe that there's something else going on. So with that, that's when I opened up my brain to thinking. Stop getting out of your head, Karyn. It's not all scientific. You don't have to think, we all came from the same people, so we're all connected. Just think about what it means to have someone up there who's looking out for us. And once I, accepted that, then it was easier for me to accept everything else. And from then on, I don't believe I'm an atheist anymore. I believe that there's a being, and I believe that they're there watching over us.
I'm absolutely, I didn't ask that to try to put you on one side or the other, but everybody, has their own way of thinking about that. But sometimes when we go through grief and we go through this process of, asking those questions of why, then we always, there's blame, because I went through the process of blaming and don't understand why. But then I look back and realize that sometimes in what I'm doing, there's got to be somebody else that's making some of these things work for me, because I have no answer for them. And
Right.
so that's what leads me into some of those things. But um, do you have uncles and aunts or other people in your family network that support your business and or in like riding on the bus with you, or some of them not riding on the bus at all, or they just like you pass by and be waving at them because they don't, you don't want them on the bus?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, we were a small group. Like I said, there was only 4 girls. There's only one of still alive, and she's in Northern California. She's actually living in our family home, um, and she's brilliant. So she supports me as best she can, but she's in Northern California. I don't have any living aunts and uncles, and my father unfortunately predeceased my mother. He also passed away from cancer. But what I do have are family, um, I would say adopted family. That's the best way I can explain it. Adopted family down here that I have picked up over the last 20 or 30 years since I've been in Southern California, and they support me. A lot of my daughter's friends and their associates, they all call me Mama K. So they support me. And of course, like I said, my husband is my biggest cheerleader. So, yes.
Wow, when I think about you saying that, I start thinking about the the impact those grandkids have on you then,
Hmm.
because those grandkids are everything that you're putting all that energy into, and that's what gives you those smiles and help you to, like get through the day sometimes when you got them grandkids running around and you got somebody you can put all that into. And so I wonder, um, do you see them as a part of that relief that you're getting?
Definitely. I know it's something my husband and I have both talked about because for the longest, you know, we never thought we were going to be grandparents. It wasn't something we were ever going to push on or ask our daughter about because she made herself quite clear years ago that she didn't want to have kids. She was married, had her career, and for whatever reason, she changed her mind. We didn't ask for it. We never pushed her. And when she changed her mind, it was just like, wow, this is what it's like a whole new leaf on life because if you have kids, you love them. You love them. You can't even explain the love. You just love them endlessly. But when you have grandkids, those are your kids' kids. So it's like love times two or to the second power. And yes, everything they say about, you may have been the dinosaur mom, but all of a sudden when you're the grandmother, you're Barney or whatever. And, uh,
Hey.
I think that might be true because I
Oh my
swear to
God.
God, those kids have us wrapped around their little fingers.
Oh
In
my
fact,
God.
that's my grandson. That picture up there. But
Wow.
he, yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely amazing.
Well, you know that part you're talking about. I think because I think I've heard that before when the parents are, their kids like. Because I tell my you used to whip us with that switch, and you used to do all this stuff to us. If they had CPS back then, you'd be in jail.
I I used to tell my
you know,
kids right where
but
they at,
for the
where they were
grandkids,
gonna get it.
the grandkids, oh, they put all kind of love into them grandkids, get buying them stuff, talking about them all the time. Like, y'all didn't do that for me. What y'all? How y'all doing that? So it's just one of those things that the kids think that the parent was crazy, but the grandkids get all the love and everything else. They get treated all differently. So that is just funny because it's just one of those natural parts. So talk a little bit about how your husband really. Let's just from the standpoint you say he supports you, he's your rock, he's everything, but talk a little bit about how that impact you through your business and also through how you go forward. You have that support.
Well, you really don't know someone until you've seen them at their worst or their lowest. I think, even though he was my high school sweetheart. In fact, he's my only boyfriend. You you hope that the person that you chose to be your life partner will be there when the S hits the fan, so to speak. And just having him there when I couldn't get dressed, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, um, and never ever rolling the eyes or looking like there's someplace else he'd rather be. Always being there, all the doctor's appointments, this and that. So it's amazing how you realize that, hey, I really did do something good. I did pick a good life partner because that's what he is to me. He's a life partner. Um, he and I have been together for 45 years. Like I said, he was my first boyfriend. He was in the Air Force, and I was at UCLA. And for the first 3.5 years of our marriage, we lived apart. He was in different parts of the country, and I was still at UCLA. And being that young and married, sorry, I knew they were going to start barking. being young and married like that and still together all these years, it's he's an amazing person.
Yeah, I was married to my high school sweetheart, so I know she was my only one. That's why it ain't gonna be no other, because I ain't
Mm-mm.
doing that.
No.
But you know, it's,
Uh,
it's it's a hard thing to lose, man. That's a blessing to have someone as your high school sweetheart, and then you know why? Because they know you, they know
exactly.
everything about you. Ain't nobody gonna know. People think you start looking alike after a while. You start looking alike. You go to the kitchen, he already know what to do. She already know what to do. You get in the car, you already got your stuff in the car. Like, honey, I already got it. Baby, no, I did that. Oh, it's just such a important part of teaching our kids and teaching the young generation about relationship and staying with it and staying through it, instead of just trying to figure out, like you said, somebody looking somewhere else or figuring out they don't need to be there because of whatever circumstances one partner is going through or not. So that's an important thing that you said there, and I believe that too. Razak?
No, I was saying I had a couple of schoolyard sweethearts back then. You guys
Maybe
saying you
just
stayed
stay
with the
with one of
first. You said you stayed with the first one. I said I managed to end up finding one later on in life. And we got married, but it didn't last. It didn't work out. But I just I commend you, a person who's able to actually find somebody who's able to deal with anything that goes on in life and actually mean it, and,
right.
and say, hey, I mean, the ups and downs, the wrong decisions, the bad things you do, I don't like, and I find out I don't like about you or whatnot. That's not going to separate us. I'm still here with you. What I mean, I'm still being a part of what I said I was going to do, and that is actually, what those vows mean.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I found out that not everybody really upholds those vows like that.
That's true.
So when I got a divorce, but that's neither here or there. It's just, it's not about me. It's about so okay. So let me change the momentum here. I wanted to ask you this, but I don't want you to go. I don't want to upset you or nothing like that. But this question here, it says this is about your role models and the influences that you have, right? So I'm thinking, um, the individuals that you look up to as role models
Mm-hmm.
and how they have influenced your values or mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's the question. But you said a couple of you said what was it, four? You have four um, people that pass in
Four
the
sisters
family,
there.
and your
Mm-hmm.
sisters, and uh, you said your son too, right? Right. Okay, so I kind of want to ask you this. I don't want to get you, if it's in the most, we can bypass this, we can cut it out or whatever.
Okay.
But I want to ask you: is it possible to rejoice in their names, right, and give a brief attribute about them in remembrance, right, as far as the influences that you may still uphold today, that they gave you values in your mindset.
Okay. Well, let's start in the order of, unfortunately, their passing. My sister Iris, she was an attorney in L.A. She also was one of the people I think I got some of my community activism from, because that's what she was in South Central LA. She worked for the Southern Poverty Law Center, and she was a defender of the downtrodden. She was a criminal defense attorney, and back in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't a whole lot of people who looked like us who were attorneys, and she was a female. So um, she was the reason why I wanted to become an attorney at first. So I studied, and after graduation became a paralegal. Actually, I worked in one of her law firms for a few years. And she was, I think, like I said, the person that gave me the community is important. Those are the people who are there, who maybe the parents can't be there. So I remember I remember when I was growing up, everyone on the street knew who you were. I mean, it was didn't need your mom and your dad to see you get in trouble. It could be the person across the street. You were in trouble. They saw it, they were going to get you before your parents got you. And we kind of lost some of that. I'm not sure if it's because uh, people are working and they're not at home like they used to be, but she reminded me that the community was just as important as family. So, um, which is why I do some volunteer work, which is neither here nor there, but I still do volunteer work for homeless communities and things like that. But she was the person who got me thinking about the community as a whole and what we can do to better ourselves. My mother, she was born and raised in Montgomery, Alabama, during very active during the civil rights movement. In fact, she worked at the same location as Rosa Parks. She was the elevator girl. Rosa Parks was a seamstress. She used to tell us about stories of how they would dress like men at night and pass the notes of the meetings for the NAACP meetings because the men were, it was more of a stall type, it was a decoy type thing. So they would send the ladies out dressed like men to send out the notes for the meetings, especially during the bus boycotts and things like that. And she was a founding member of the Palmacia Baptist Church in Northern California after she moved out here. And she was always the one, as I said before, that would think that everyone needed to be fed, everyone needed to have clothing, everyone needed to whatever. She would take off her sock or her shoes and give to someone. So I think I got that part from her. My oldest sister, who passed away, she was the next person. She was a mother of 7 children. Her first husband unfortunately passed away after she had 4, and she remarried, but she put herself through school. She had multiple postgraduate degrees as a single mother as she was working her way through school. And she was someone could just be, I don't want to use the word book smart, but she saw things coming before people could even think about it. And I think hopefully I got some of my intuitiveness and entrepreneurship from her. My son, Richard, his birthday was 2 days after mine, and he was a Gemini like me. And if there was ever a mama's boy, he was it. He was a football player down here in Riverside Poly, and big guy. You would never think that he was such a sweet, gentle soul. 6'2", 280, but he was the kindest, sweetest guy ever. And to this day, some of his high school friends still call me mama. And I love that. And it was hard at first seeing them without him. But when I run into one at the grocery store, he works at the store up the street, I see him almost every other day, always hugs and kisses me. And I feel like he's still here with me. So those are the 4 people who have left me back to back to back to back. Now, I haven't mentioned my father as much, but my father passed away in 87 from cancer as well. And he'd always said that family started with him. Everyone that came under him was almost like a tent, and they were connected, and he believed that. And I think we got a lot of our closeness from that. Even though he was a male and he didn't have any boys, he was the ultimate daddy's girl. He loved having 4 girls. He didn't want it any other way. And I get my bluntness from him.
I think that was great. And myself, I can appreciate that. Go ahead, Razak.
Man,
I was
that was a
trying to
lot.
do it without crying, but
No. Hey, now see, I talk to people, and I used to run the family readiness group in a military setting. This is a the FRG. It's a branch in the military. We basically, counseling service, financial aid service type stuff. For the actual families of the military service guys. So if they go off to war and get killed or something, or then I would talk to them about how they was grieving and stuff like that, or maybe they just didn't need, maybe they needed something, they needed extra gas money, they needed to get some backpack monies or something, or they needed something, they would come to us through the military service. So I'm thinking that it's a celebration sometimes that depending on what type of faith you have, I know you said you kind of was started off on the atheist side, but depending on your belief system, I should say,
mm-hmm.
when people pass away, I like to I try to, think of it in a celebratory type of thing, because if you're praying to somebody or you believe in some kind of entity, what I mean, where it helps you get through the day, then the people who pass away are going to those, nobody, I mean, I know nobody really says, hey, they pass away, they're going to hell, everybody's going to heaven. You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean? So,
right,
so it's like, okay, so if they're going to heaven, they're going to this fabulous place, paradise in the sky. What is there to be sad about, other than you're left here to deal with the weight of the world still. What I
right.
mean? Now you don't have that. Okay, let me call you, and I can't call you right now. But at the same time, you can call on them in spirit. What I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You in the memory of what they just did. So you just gave us a memory, and you just and instead of like breaking down, you was in a more of a happiness of what you got from them. What I mean? And how it was shaping your mindset right now. That's what you was giving us right now. And with that, I'll be thinking, what I don't know if I, well, yeah. So how would you structure your day to day balancing from work and your personal life, giving all the tragedy that you had in life, and then you have a service where kind of you're taking of other people, and then they might pass away during your service.
Right,
How do you balance that from work and life? Because it seems it's like a lot of tragedy that evolves with the service that you have.
right. I mean, you see the good and you see the bad, obviously, and unfortunately, the bad. And I guess someone passing is bad, but I think now, looking back, I have to think of the positive. I've gotten to a point now where those who are not here with me anymore, I can look at the things they've said, I can read their messages and look at their letters and things and laugh. And I think that's probably the best way to handle with my customers and my clients. I mentioned the gentleman who had passed away. So when I see his wife, we talk about, the times that he would do this or he would do that. So I don't want to ever take away someone's grieving process, because everyone grieves differently. Everyone has their time when they're ready to talk or when they're ready to deal with that type of pain. And I don't know enough about it to say that I'm an expert at it. I just know that at some point it kind of clicks in your head where you're still sad because that pain never goes away, but you can look back and you can smile at some of the things they said or special memories that that you had with them. And that's what I try and bring out with other people. Maybe it is masking some of the pain or whatever, but I always try and think, I'd hope that someone saw me at my worst and put a smile on my face. And that's what I try and do.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Beautiful.
Let's change it up. Did you have something, Keith?
Yeah, I was just going to ask a little bit about the you're talking about the community and your mom is from Alabama and all that. So I know that Southern background. I'm from Louisiana, so I know that is where you get the, you know, if you need to eat, there's food down the street or whoever if you're gonna get a butt whipping, believe me, everybody's gonna give you a butt whipping if it's
Exactly.
somebody there down the street. So you ain't running just because mom didn't see it, somebody else seen it.
Someone
You
else.
getting a butt whipping. And
Exactly.
and then the other big part about what you're talking about is the black women, and in the South, when you're talking about the men using the black women, to pass the letters or to pass the notes down, to other people. This is one of the things that is not really told is how
Right.
strong the black woman is and
Right.
how much that they have endured and carrying us forward as
Mm-hmm.
mothers, as wives, as entrepreneurs, as just being out there. And when I'm listening to you, I just feel as if, you're standing you're on the screen in front of us, and I see all of that. I feel all of that. I feel like you're carrying forward a lot of that history, and I'm thinking that your grandkids are just blessed to have the ability to have that in you to be able to be retrieved from, to get that knowledge from. And I'm hoping that they're asking those questions or getting that information from you. So I just want to commend you on, what you were talking about your dad and your dad being one of those places where you've got that family, nest from,
Right.
understanding that, in my family and some to think this, that's an important part of what needs to happen because a lot of our people are walking away from that, right? They don't have it. They're not caring about it. They don't even think about it. They're not even trying to care about what their uncle's name is or whoever these other people in the family is. And one of the things that I think you're doing is helping to keep that alive. And I think that's the most important part. So if I was to ask you something about, what I would think is life lessons, what would you consider to be a life lesson that you've learned from that?
Know your history. Embrace your history. Share your history. Um, don't don't be afraid to talk about your history, because I think I've learned so much more um, than maybe my mother knew. But at the same time, I'm glad that I was there and saw things and asked things, and there was nothing that was hidden or you know there was no shame in our history. So um, I think that for my kids and my kids' kids, when they want to talk, they want to ask questions, I show them things, or we go places, museums. I want them to know that there's there's nothing that they can't ask me that I won't share with them. I want them to um, be able to have that kind of relationship with me. I want them to have a relationship with their parents, and I believe they do. And I think, like you had mentioned, unfortunately, we don't have the nuclear family like we used to have so much, and I think we need to get back to that. Um, uh, I think it was a disservice, obviously, to our young ladies and men who are growing up now, and unfortunately, that's a generation that we have to kind of, I don't want to use the word fix, but wrap up in arms and say this is how it used to be, and hopefully we can jumpstart it again. Because I'm sure you remember the family picnics, the Sunday dinners, the things like that people would sit around and talk and communicate. And now people hardly have time to even say hello. Uh, I'm in the stores every day, and I make sure I nod and I say hello, good morning, have a great day to everyone I see, because you may not see them again, or I may not be here again, and it's no skin off my nose to say hello to somebody. And maybe that person's going through something, and maybe by me smiling saying hello to them, I may brighten up their day a little bit. But I think for our generation, I think I think we'll call boomers, baby boomers, whatever. Um, and my daughter's generation, I'm hoping that the next generation doesn't have to have as much of the negativity and the pain that my parents saw, and I'm hoping that each generation gets better.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Razak?
Okay, let's switch gears. It's like we're on a bike right here. We going we just switching gears now. We're
Okay.
going to jump to some other stuff here. Okay, so also your life lessons with the attributes of those who passed away, with the people you help. What would be a goals that you set? Do you have a bucket list or a wish list, of something that you want to accomplish? That you different things that you want to accomplish, different things you want to go do. And
You know, a few years ago, I thought about writing things down, or maybe mentally thinking about a bucket list. It's just because once you have so many people passing, and other than my mother, I'm older than my sisters and obviously my son, and my father. So I started thinking about, well, I may not be around to see 60 or 61. So maybe I want to go do this and do that. Then I thought, well, no, because what happens when I've done all that? I don't want to just shrivel up and pass away. So I take each day as it comes. I try and live each day as if it's my last. So um, making sure that the people who are important to me know that they're important to me. Saying I love you every time I see someone who I love. Uh, Things like that, because I think about those who aren't here anymore, and I'm wondering, you know, did they have a bucket list? Did my sister, who knew she was passing from cancer, have one? Did my mother, who probably died of a broken heart because her daughter passed away, did she start thinking about things? And my son was too young to have a bucket list, so I don't want to put things in writing or put things as a bucket list. I just want there are things I want to be able to do and still see and experience, yes. But whether it's on a list or something that I can mentally check off in my head, I'll say no. I don't want to do that anymore.
okay, okay,
I mean,
all
that's
right.
a good realization of who you are.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. So this question I'm going to pass it to you, Keith. It's what are the main challenges facing your industry? I mean, well, is it an industry? Oh, I guess you would be the delivery industry. And how does how you as a business woman navigate through them, the challenges of being a delivery service?
Well, some of the biggest challenges obviously is getting your name out there, marketing, and then also having making your service stand out from some of the other well-known services, and also just times, like I said, everything costs more. I mean, yes, people's wages are going up and things like that, but so's rent, so's interest rates, so's this, so's that. So how does a family of four, justify my service, which some people call a luxury service? So I have to sell myself as something, not a luxury, but something that is more of a helping hand. So it's like I said, family of four. Maybe everyone's working, and she doesn't have time, or he doesn't have time to go to five different stores for the weeks of groceries they need, because Tommy and Susie have little league games and this and that. So I try and sell myself as the helper, so I can help you, so that you can navigate all those other things that you want to do as a family without feeling that you're giving up something, so that you can still be there for those events, still go to all those meetings you have to go to, and still have time to tuck all your kids in at bedtime, because someone else went to the store and someone else stood in line, someone else went to three different stores to find the things that you need. So that's part of the thing that I have to sell myself as something more than a luxury service.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's a big part of business, right? You're learning how to sell yourself, promote yourself, and this is another avenue in doing that, right? So, and I'm glad that you took away those nervous butterflies to get you through this, because it's one of those things that we have to continue to try to do in our community, right? Because we're not used to doing that. We're used to saying, no, well, I'm not going to do that. This is not something for me. But if you're going to be in business and you're going to take the risk to spend your money to do that, at least you should be able to put yourself out there. Some people don't like to be the front person. They rather have somebody else be the front, and they just work it from the back. So when I talk about this, I think about a couple of things, and maybe you probably already mentioned it a little bit, but I like to know a little bit about how you see your legacy. What do you think your legacy means? I know you talked about the family and what they were, what they may have thought in their bucket list, but as far as a legacy go, it's a little bit different, because you're leaving something behind that you're working on now to establish it. So how do you see that going?
Well, I'm hoping that I'm leaving behind everything that I've learned from those that came before me, and I'm hoping that that history is strong, and that my kids, and hopefully their kids will know our history, know my legacy, know me from the stories or the events that they witnessed. I want to be able to pass on generational wealth to my kids. Um, owning a home was always something that was instilled in me at a very early age. So I'm thankful to say that my husband and I, we're someone still has a deed, but we're homeowners, and we can pass that on to uh, our daughter and her kids. The house that my sister is living in is a house I was born in, and one thing that we tend to do is, people don't save money like they should save. And that's one thing my father did instill in me, was for every dollar you earn, you need to be putting that dollar away, because, things happen, and you want to be able to have money for yourself, have the money, your own resources, because not long ago, you know, banks and financial institutions didn't really lend to people like us, and it was, you had your family or you had your own to lend money to. So um, I want my kids to know that I'm a hard worker, that I did not give up, that I taught myself to overcome, a disability, to help others, and that when all else failed, and through pain and the tears and the loss, I did not let it beat me.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's how it should be. But sometimes in our communities, that hasn't been fully learned and taken in. For some reason, I just learned recently. And someone I know is going through this process with cancer, and they didn't have that savings. They didn't put that money away. And insurance is only so far, because my
Mm.
sister's in the insurance business, and I noticed that it's how important it is to talk about when you're talking about generational wealth. That has to do with what you're doing now, right? You're talking about, because before, when and the people in the community, in the white community, they know how to get property, right? They know that if they go to someone in our community and offer them some money, more likely they're going to take that money, instead of thinking about the fact that the generational wealth of how they do it is they pass stuff down. They pass
I,
land down. They
I,
pass property down. They pass acres and acres of farmland down. So those kids that are coming up never have to really go through that. Just keep passing it down and building the generational wealth.
building up that
Blacks
equity.
have not, yeah. Blacks haven't learned that method yet. To some extent. And we're starting to do more of that, because a lot of young people are getting good jobs. They're getting paid a lot more money than mom and pop did when they were going through that savings and all that. So when you talk about doing that, it's important, because it also kicks back to the legacy of the Black Wall Street, right? Because that was where you were going to get that loan for
Right.
that black business, or for your home. But they didn't want to see that happen.
Mm.
So that's something we do need to try to build back. So I just think that that's one of those things that most of us haven't really got down, including myself. It's just one of those things I got to keep working on. And what I was going to ask was, what was it about? Yeah, regarding that. How do you see the future right now? How do you see the future? That some things you can talk about our youth. What do you would like to say to them, as someone that has gone through all of the ups and downs in life that most people have yet to even ever experience or may never experience in that capacity. How do you and see what's happening in the future with our kids, and what they need to do to um, to be better at understanding their legacy, or our culture.
One of the things that I remember my parents saying was that you can't take anything with you when you go. When you're in that casket, it's just you in that casket. And I think a lot of younger people still have that materialistic viewpoint of things. The designer this, the fancy cars or whatever. And, when they go, they've spent all their money on fancy, flashy things. And, you know, there's nothing for the children, the wife, the dad, the mom, or whoever, So I, I, I want people to think about, is it that important to spend all your all your hard-earned money on the fancy things, as opposed to just enjoying life simply. Because you can still enjoy and still have a good time. You can still take the fancy trips. It doesn't mean you have to, wear Gucci on the plane. You can just get on the plane and take that trip. So, uh, I think not seeing dollar signs, connected to everything is the other thing that I'd want people to think about. Um, Also, making sure that you buy black, you keep money in our community. If you know someone who has a boutique or has a service or has a product or has a travel agency, I try and look for people who look like me first before I spend my hard-earned money. And I think keeping that recirculating our funds uh, with each other, I think we need to do more of that because before that's all you could buy for 'em. You couldn't go to the white man's store or the white man says to do things. You had to go to people like us, and somewhere along the line, they start getting our money, and we thought that was better going there as opposed to going to the corner store or you know or the product from that person who made the dress, hand sewn the dress as opposed to someone who's getting it from, unfortunately, another country and selling it cheaper. So the other thing is, I hate to see is when you want to try and discount someone's service because they look like you. Let's see if I can get a deal if I go to blah, blah, blah because she's black or he's black. Maybe I can get a better deal.
Mm.
They have bills to pay just like everybody else, so that bothers me when I see or hear that. So that's the other thing that I hope that we end in that. So, recirculating our dollars, building up our generational wealth, reminding everyone of our history, being proud of our history so that we don't have repeats of things that happened recently. um, Being active in your community so that the politicians look like you, so that you don't have a repeat of what's going on right now in the world. Um, because we are, a proud culture and we're their biggest fear. And I think that the more they keep or try and keep their foot on our neck, it's just we have to be stronger than that and smarter than that. And I know we are. So we have to help each other.
Hold up for a minute. I
Black
thought we
dollars, black
were.
money.
Wait a minute. I thought we were just gonna talk about something else, but you know what? I'm 100% in agreement. I'm gonna pass this to Razak in a minute, but let me just say this: I am proud that you took the time to lay that out. I was writing down. I stopped writing because I was like, "Well, man, she's hitting on every point that is need to be hit on." And need to be heard from by someone with your stature and be able to let these young people know that they need to buy black. And the part when you were talking about, someone's buying from you and they thinking they're gonna get a deal. It's like when we go to TJ or Mexico and we say, okay, no, how much? How about $5? How about $4? No, it's
Absolutely.
not like that. We're not
There's
trying
no
to do that, and
bartering.
we're not bartering. Yeah. So I really think that that's an important thing to be said, especially from a black woman, and being able to understand that we are looking at something that's changing slowly. And when you come out and let that out the way you did, I was just like uplifted by that because I think that that's something that what I'm going to pass it on to Razak will share with you that's the focus of this podcast in the beginning anyway, is to uplift the black community and minority community. So, but you're right. So, Razak, I'm gonna let you. I know you have something to say.
Look, back in the day, a couple of years ago, I used to run around with the Black Panthers, right, of the Compton and Watts division. So, I mean, that's all we did, was push for Black dollars, Black community, Black business, but Black mentorships, everything Black. I I don't even like wearing white socks. What I mean, type, white shirts. Everything I had some kind of color diversity into it or something. So it's like, well, so when I came to the podcast, that's how I generally approach, you know, uh, Keith right here, about the same, I'm glad you said it the way you said it though. You know what I mean? Cause that's what I try not to be the one who's
Mhm.
always pushing for it, but when our guests also say it, it just confirms the thought process and the ability that we have to reach into the minds of the vendors and people that we interview, and it's what you guys are thinking too. You know what I mean? So that lets us know we're on the right track. We're going down the right path and we're meeting the right people. So that's always a plus. So let's try to jump back on track
Okay.
real quick. All right. So are there specific training programs or courses you recommend for those entering your industry? The
Well, first, first thing you should recognize if the community can absorb the service that you're trying to do. Take, for instance, my service. One thing I wanted to make sure is that I was compliant with the city and county laws as far as doing what I do, being licensed, having the right insurance policies, and things like that. Making sure um, that I had all my ducks in a row as far as that's concerned. And also because you're dealing with people's food and their credit cards and things like that. So I have a payment processing service so that protects me and protects them. Um, for other types of things, like when I was obviously a paralegal, yes, there was more intensive training for that. But for me, I started off with this service. I I actually did work with those other companies, so I saw that side of it as well. The my competitors, I should say. So I signed up as a shopper with those companies, so I could get used to the flow and how what I could offer that the other company could not offer. So that's what I did. But first and foremost, make sure that your business is doing things above board as far as being properly licensed. I'm incorporated. I'm a corporation, so that's a little bit different. Some people are LLCs. Some people are DBAs. So decide, talk to your tax preparer what's best for you. But for me, I incorporated my business, and I have to follow the laws for the state of California for a corporation, but also there are laws and ordinances for the city and the county that I have my business addressed in. So I would say start there.
Okay, okay, and that's valuable information. A lot of times, I think we might need to make that more of a relevant question that we ask too, because in my business, United Minority Business Ventures, I worked with a lot of different people previously, and before I started having my own company and stuff, and wanted to have my own thing going on, and it was only then that I learned, all the licenses that I needed to even have a business, like all those, the DBAs, the corporation, the difference of corporation, the LLC, all these different things, what I mean. And in each business, I'm assuming that it's something different, what I mean. So I say that in my business, one of the services we have is trying to find out which licenses you may need to run your business. And I like how you just in because I was looking at that you got the I you got the INC on there. I just and I was going, because there's another question like down the line about that, but you kind of answered it right now. So So I want to start bringing that up about the license that are needed to run the business, because we're asking you about a business, but the one of the things that we needed to know, what you just said right there, is how do you even, not only the licensing the business, but how do you how does the license coincide with the state laws and the county laws and all these other different things that they have in there. And we're not going to know that until you actually say, hey, I want my business to be this type of business, and then we have to find the relevance of the laws that apply to you. So that was good. That was good that you just said that right there. My next question goes into networking and relationships, about how important is networking in your industry, and what strategies do you use to build and maintain professional relationships?
Well, word of mouth referrals initially was how I started, because it takes time to catch on. You don't have the money to blanket, the community or the neighborhood with, your information, and quite frankly, flyers and things like that, they get thrown away. So you have to find out what works for you as far as marketing. And generally, if your good friend or your neighbor says, hey, I like so and so, they did this for me, and I use them all the time, that's going to go further than spending X amount of dollars with Facebook ads and things like that. So I did do the Google ads and things like that initially, but then I realized that I wasn't getting my return for the money I was spending out, and I realized that referrals, reviews, customer reviews, and things like that, and asking them to refer me to someone else, uh, paying them a referral bonus, maybe a free shop or a free service, whatever. That's for me. That's how it worked, and I think that's probably um, the best way, because I'm going to trust a friend's referral over something that I saw on a Facebook ad or Instagram ad.
Okay. Okay.
But
Well, that
also, I'm sorry. Also, in this podcast and the people who connected me to this podcast, um, the group of Black women, Black entrepreneurs that are pushing each other up, and hey, so and so has this. Let me send you her information. Let me send you her Facebook page, or let me send you her this information. I've never met some of these people personally, but we've become uh, community friends, business friends, because of our connection to who we are and what we look like and what we're trying to do. And because of that, uh, I I think that referral is good, is as important too, because I use their service or I buy their product, and people see me in their product, or I post I'm wearing their product, or I use their product. So I think that goes far as well.
I heard that. I heard that. Let me ask you this, because this is a lot of times, when we're doing this, what do you, let me see if I can say this word right. Matter of fact, let me skip the word. It says, what is your outlook? Let me change the word, on your career growth. How do you see yourself in the future?
Uh,
5 years, 4 years?
when I started doing this, I really didn't think it was going to last a year or 2 years. Then the pandemic happened, and kind of everything got kind of pushed and blown out of proportion. But um, my daughter has asked me those questions. Mom, you're getting a little bit older. You still want to be doing this type of thing? I said, well, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel young at heart. It makes me feel like I'm doing something that's rewarding. So I'm gonna probably do this for as long as I'm able to do it, or as long as it's fun for me, and I think I'm bringing a service to other people. Now, when it doesn't become fun or it doesn't look like I'm providing a good service, then I'll probably stop. Because, like I said, this is my second career. Um, I think that as long as I'm getting some type of reward, mentally and physically out of it, then it's great. But for other people as well. I didn't say financially because it's never rewarding financially. It is rewarding mentally and physically.
Yeah, you're right about that. That sometimes that's part of the process of being an entrepreneur and taking risks. The risk is that you may not make no money, and the risk is that you may not get people to like you. You know what you're doing. The risk is that you may have people that you have to walk away from that ain't gonna ride with you on this ship. This,
Right.
what you're doing. So the all of that is a part of something that most people can't deal with, right? So they don't go into business, and they don't know how to manage that type of feelings, and so the ones that do are strong. And by you coming on the podcast, KF&JF podcast, it helps to uplift everyone, because what they hear from you and how they understand the struggle of entrepreneur and the risk, then they can say, you know what, I'm willing to take that chance too. And when you're talking about some of the people that you've met, that in the Black women's group that you're in, you haven't even met them, some of them. So there's just a networking that you're doing. And what I want to piggyback off of that and say is that this is what we're doing, right? This is why the podcast is important, because we're building that network too. When you go back and look at your video, you're going to see other people in businesses that are Black owned. You can see maybe you need one of those services, whether it's a craft you want, whether it's balloons you need, or whether it's something you need for a party or anything. As you look down the list of people we've interviewed, and then now automatically you have a network of Black owned businesses that you can go to. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to establish, to help each other and put that back in, put those people out there. And the same thing for you, because there are all kinds of other people that you're going to meet, or you hopefully pass us on to, and then they're going to say, oh, you know what, I need her services too. My mom, my dad, friend I know, my neighbor, whatever it is. And so that's why we try to make sure everybody subscribe, and everybody you talk to, you get them to subscribe, because that's information that they can get too, especially if you have people in your family of color that you're passing this information on to. Now you're doing something that is going to help generate that network and relationship, and putting the money back into the community. So I like to ask you these last few questions here, and one of them is, can you what type of takeaway you've gotten from this conversation so far, and insight that you can provide to our listeners from just the conversation we've had over the last hour or so?
Wow. I didn't know where this conversation was going to go. There was no questions given to me ahead of time. So this is all off the cuff. But the fact that you guys have this podcast, that you are giving back to entrepreneurs and to people who look like me and people who look like you, and realize that our voice is powerful and is important, but we just need a little help getting it heard. And this podcast will uplift those voices and let other people hear me, hear others who've come on before me and who'll come on after me. And like, it's kind of like the old fashioned phone book, the yellow pages. You would go to the yellow pages and, flip a few pages back to see who you're looking for. But this is the black pages. And I think it's something that's worthy and worthwhile. And I appreciate the time and the effort that both you and Razak have put into this. The fact that You guys don't know me from Adam or Eve, and thought enough thought enough to ask me uh, thought provoking questions, things that I hadn't even thought about, how my things that have happened to me in life, how they've inspired or pushed me into doing these types of things. And sometimes people need to be reminded, of why they do what they do or why they want to do what they do. And those people whose shoulders that we're standing on, and how important it is to reach back and pull other people up so that they can also stand on your shoulders.
Mm, man.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that's we appreciate you. Um, you know, letting us know that, because that's something that we definitely want to make sure that we give everybody that opportunity to do that, whether we know them or not, and whether you pass us on to someone else. We want you to feel confident that we're going to treat them exactly the same way. We're going to try to be as honest and authentic as possible with them, and then we're going to try to make them as comfortable as possible so that they can feel as if this is not some place where they need to be all stressed out about. you
Right.
know and I'd like to ask you, as we go through this closing part here, can you just take a step back and say, okay, you know what advice I want to give, what words that you can really give to the listeners out there? I know you talked about that, but just something maybe you haven't said that you would like to say.
Well, I would want people to think this is their business. This is their career choice. This is their goal they want to do. And to put more than 50% effort into it. Put more than 100% effort into it, because no one's going to work harder for your goal than you. And a lot of us have the mindset we're going to punch someone else's time clock, and we're going to work that 9 to 5. We're going to get that 401k, and then we're going to retire and blah, blah, blah. But there's been a lot of businesses that have closed, that have been bought out, that are no longer here. And those people probably thought they'd be working there for a long time. Isn't it worthwhile and rewarding to know that you are your own destiny? How much hard work you put into something is based on your sweat and tears. And so when you're able to say, I'm done for the day, you've done the day for yourself, not for the man's name on the building outside, but it's for your own business. And I think that when you have children and those children see you working for yourself, see that you're making those moves and make those decisions, that you're your own boss, those things are important. And uh, I'd like to think that my kids and my kids' kids are looking up to me and looking up to my husband, whoever, and seeing us as a role model for what they want to do. Uh, Hard work will get you a house, will get you this, will get you that. And yeah, you can work someplace else, but guess what? You don't know how long you're going to be working for someplace else, because you are just an employee with an ID number. But with your own business, you decide. You're your own destiny.
Praise the Lord for that. Anything you have to say, Razak? I mean, praise the Lord for that.
Yeah.
That is a motivating speech of I haven't heard one, and letting people know that if you're going into business, you know, go into business. Don't give 5%, 10%, 50%. Give 100,
Yeah.
and watch what you get out of it if you put that in. Because you only get what you put in. So that's the case. Razak, you have anything you want to add?
Man. Yeah, that was good. That was good. I like the as I listen to you, I'm
Yep.
thinking about, maybe we should start a like a workshop or something. You know what I mean? Like a meeting, like a maybe I don't even know what to call it. Maybe like a just like a brainstorm thing or something. You know what I mean? Like where we, because whether a lot of these people realize it or not, people are going to be listening to this. I'm listening to you, and and it's giving me insight, it's giving me direction, it's giving me motivation, it's giving me a upliftment. I'm in higher spirits. I feel like my anything I went through the day, or yesterday, because I don't think we didn't do nothing yesterday, I don't think. But and when I listen to you right now, I'm thinking all that time was building up anticipation to hear what you had to say, not even knowing if you was going to say something that I can take away from, or if you was going to, and that's the surprise that we always get out of each interview. We don't know what you're going to say.
Right.
We we don't know how you're going to act. We don't know what's going on. What I mean? And that's the and that's a reward in itself, to be able to talk to somebody. And just like you say, we're just meeting. Even if we talked to you, last week or 2 weeks ago, and just made like an interview schedule and stuff like that, we're not actually getting down to talking to you and finding out a little bit more. Of course, the questions are more geared for you to tell us about you, versus us telling us about us. But we also interview ourselves, or we're about to have our own little individual things. So a lot of people might want to know a little more in depth about. Matter of fact, I got one out. I already got one out there. I think we got to do Keith. You what? We got to do one about Keith, and then so and I like what I'm rewarded with. This is put it like that. I'm rewarded with. I'm blessed to be able to hear and occupy the same space with you, and hear your story, and know that, what I mean, because my uncle just passed, what I mean, and like a couple of weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago or something. And and the family is in grieving and mourning and stuff right now as we speak. So, and it's like they're still debating on, cremation. Well, they want to bury him, but stuff, and it's just like, there's certain aspects that go into grieving and continuing business, and continuing living life, and how do you look at it? I don't think I asked you, but on a mental level, how the mentality that goes into having to process all that, and still be able to wake up and go through the day. Or some people might, they might shut down for a couple of days, or they might try to walk through the day, but not knowing that they had already shut down. You know what I mean? Because I think I kind of experienced that, a couple of times, when I was just kind of like, I was just doing stuff in a robotic type of sense, and not in trying not to think at all,
Right.
and just do something. You know what I mean? And with that I felt like kept my mind off of thinking, like, hey, I got these deaths in the family, and people don't really, like, especially, it depends on if you're close or not. You know what I mean? Like, we have some close relatives that are my immediate family, and then we have some ones that are, like, outside. They're cousins. They might be a second, third cousin somewhere down there. I don't, we don't really mingle all the time. And things like this, has like an impact on you. And as I listened to you, I was just thinking about, what I mean, what type of uh, grieving process I might have not have been in, and maybe, throwing on a mask myself or something like that, for a couple of people that have passed, and during my family time these last couple of months, if not these couple of years. So, I'm just taking away from that, and learning, I mean, how to process it through other people saying how they process it. And I know not everybody's the same and stuff like that. Everybody goes through different things, but and I'm saying this as in going through business, still doing business, still going through life, still doing what you got to do, still got to go make your money. What I mean, you still got to go in, but still be in high spirits, but you're grieving at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody processes that in that sense differently. So I'm taking away from that. And as I had said earlier, what I mean, there was a point in time where I thought about that same type of delivery service. Well, not probably specifically like yours, but and I see that, it was, there was a couple of people that we had talked to, and they was always saying, like, what I mean, I don't know if we asked you that either, but for the people that said or seen you going out and doing these things for people, because you said you started doing it for free at first. What were the people in your ear, saying, "Hey, don't do that," or "Hey, don't do this for ask for money." You know what I mean? And
Well,
and
I
yeah,
think I think for me, it was maybe a part of that grieving process as well. And I think maybe that's why I didn't get that pushback from others, because they knew that I was still working through a lot of the depression, the anxiety, the insomnia, all that comes along with, that kind of loss. And they saw that it made me feel good. So it's better someone to, have a smile on their face and, she's just doing this, as opposed to, someone always thinking about money. And I really don't have a lot of people around me with that kind of mindset where money is their first thing that they're thinking about. So I'm blessed to know that I have people who are in my inner circle who have my best interests at heart. And I think that's important as well, because unfortunately there are people like that who will be in your ear and, say, well, you can get this, you can get that, or you shouldn't be giving this away. But I don't really have people like that I listen to, that are in my inner circle.
okay. Yeah, a couple of people had asked at one point in time, "Hey, is this a how much I got to pay you guys or something?" Like, no, it's a free service, and a lot of, and that was like a shocker,
Hmm.
and in a sense, and now I think about it, especially as what have the way you just said it right there, maybe this is a way that, Keith, maybe in a sense, this is a way of giving back in a grieving sense. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like saying, like, we got to give back. We got to keep our minds busy. We got to do different things, about the losses that we had in life, and versus saying, because if, I think sometimes when people always, we call it thirsty. When you're being thirsty, you always like money, 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 money. Like, I ain't gonna do that if I ain't getting paid or something like that. Okay, that's good that you wanna hustle. You wanna make your money. Everybody got bills, but still, there's a time where you not really needed like that. You know what I mean? And the reward is in itself from the conversations that we have, from
Right.
from the things that will transpire, down the road, from stemming from this conversation we're having right now. And that has been in itself, the I guess you would say that would be the ground level, that'd be the ground level that we're making a foundation on. We see a lot of people in the vendor business, that they're not being recognized, they're not being celebrated. We know that they're going through something. It's in the Black community, the minority community.
Hmm.
The in minorities is Hispanics. I know where I'm always first to say Black community. Light skins. And then but the minority United Minority Business Ventures is actually my business, because I got all kind of mixtures in my family and stuff like that. So I can never exclude any of them. My kids involved. I got biracial kids and everything, so I can't never exclude them and just say black, black, black when I know they're mixed. And I say black in the sense of everything that falls under a color barriers that we have faced, and that we're still going through. Even
Right.
today, even with the in I should say enslavement. What I mean, the slaves and stuff like that, plantations. Now they're just calling it something else. It's a job.
Hmm.
It's people that are locked up. What I mean, doing without being compensated for what they got to do. And being stressed out or stuff. All these different things are forms of plantation and slavery. What I mean,
Hmm.
they just incorporated it, and gave it a different titlement, gave it a different disguise, I should say.
Right.
So I feel like I just jumped off somewhere, but so I'm getting a lot. What I mean, when I hear these discussions right here, it just motivates me, man, and it just inspires me to try to do better and be a better example for the people who I'm gonna run across in the future. And I can always say, hey, look at this, look at this video, or look at this other interview, look at this interview, you know what I mean, as inspiration for them. What I mean? So that's what I'm getting out of this. This is what I'm taking away.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so too. I like you take a moment. I'm going to put you on this screen and I want you to just say your name, say your business, and give your pitch to the people that are going to be ordering from you or using your service.
Okay. Hi, my name is Karyn Johnson Dorsey. I'm CEO of KARYN's Express Delivery Service, Inc. And I am a personal shopper. What does that mean? That means that I will assist you in gathering your items that you need from whatever store, from whatever location, to save you time, to save you money, but more importantly, to provide a service that I think is needed. Uh, I will always make sure that your products are fresh, no moldy, smushed fruit. Uh, Expiration dates are always checked, and my service is guaranteed. And for whatever reason you're unhappy with my service, then you don't pay my fee. That's as simple as that. No questions asked. Thank you for thinking about shopping with KARYN's Express Delivery Service, Inc.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Oh
that.
my goodness.
Uh,
Yeah,
that's okay. It's hard to talk about yourself.
It
Sometimes it's hard
certainly
to.
is. And my dog is over here moaning. She's like,
Okay,
oh.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna. He's listening to you. Like I heard that story before.
Like, all right, time for you
Okay,
to shut up,
okay.
Mom.
Oh my good. All right. I was gonna tell you, we really appreciate you coming on. We really thank you so much for your time and that you have allotted us to take up 2 hours of your time. And I am so thankful that you chose to do that because, like I say here at KF&JF podcast, everything is real, and so you have kept that, um, you know authentic and honest, so it really shows. So I am happy to have had you on. I look forward to everything that you do, and hopefully that you will carry us forward. If you haven't subscribed, you need to subscribe. I know you.
I subscribe,
Okay,
so
now
yeah.
I just want to make sure. Want to make sure you subscribe and that you got all your friends on the same note, because they can't watch you until they subscribe. Because
Right.
you have to tell them, don't even watch me until you subscribe. I mean, just be looking. So this is how we get things done. And the Joy Be Love portion, which I know we didn't really talk about, but that's a clothing line that I have for my for this business as well, and that helps support us as well. So anytime people go to the joybeloved.com website, when you purchase stuff there, it allows us to keep this show going and go out there and grab more people to come on and to bring these stories to light. So I am just thankful, and I give all praise to you and your family for all that you guys are doing. And they definitely, your kids definitely got a strong Black woman as their mother, and if they don't know, they're gonna find out.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the time and opportunity to come onto this podcast. I really appreciate it. You guys made me feel really comfortable and allowed me to open up and say what I had to say. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I think the praises go to you. The praises go to you, not us. And take care, and we'll definitely be talking again.
People comment, oh, so and so. I heard so and so has this business. Maybe I can get a deal with that person. Wait, if that was Nordstrom, you don't walk in Nordstrom and say, "Hey, can I get this pair of pants for $45 as opposed to the $80 you have on here?" No, you pay the price that's listed.